Welcome to Engines of Mischief. This video describes how business people who want to open a factory should fill out their Make Money worksheets. Merchants who begin the game in hand production of textiles will especially be interested in opening a factory, but clever craftsmen who make machines can do this as well. In Merchants and Craftsmen's roll sheets is a diagram of how to open a factory. On the Make Money factory production worksheet, there is also the same diagram. To make money from a factory requires two steps. First, you have to build the factory. Second, the factory has to be operated. The factory should be built in the session before it begins to operate and starts to make money. Opening a factory is done one time only, but once the factory is operational, it can make money every subsequent session. Adjustments can be made to it, for example, with more machines, more workers, higher or lower wages, but it will generate income every session it operates. To build a factory requires two things that cost money. First, there are startup costs, and second is the machine. The market price for both of these things is on the market condition board that the game master will display or provide. The machines must be bought from a craftsman, and the price is negotiable. In session 1, the market price is 300 shilling, but a craftsman can sell a machine for a higher or lower price, depending on if they want to make more money or if they want to make a sale. Craftsmen don't have to buy a machine. All they have to do is pay for machine parts and make their own machines. Startup costs are not negotiable, and they are 200 shillings in the first session. So it costs 500 shillings to build a factory. There are two other things you need in order to build and operate a factory that don't cost money. The first one is a warehouse rental agreement. It is secured by talking to an aristocrat. They own all the warehouses in Manchester. You must ask if they were willing to rent a warehouse and at what price. There is a market price for rent, in other words, the average rent for warehouses in Manchester. This again is on the market conditions board, but it is negotiable. Then the business person needs 8 workers minimum. So they have to get weavers and spinsters who are either working in hand production or working in another factory to leave hand production or leave that factory and work for them. They can be English men or women, or they could be new immigrants. If an immigrant is needed, the business person should ask the game master for them. There may also be some orphans in the game, but this is up to the vicar. The business person ideally should get a warehouse lease and agreement from workers to join the factory in the session when the factory is being built. But they only pay their wages and pay the rent on the warehouse the session the factory begins to operate. Here is an example of a worksheet of a merchant in hand production who is building a factory. They use their worksheet for hand production, not the factory worksheet, to build the factory. This is Merchant Thornton, and say it's session 2 and she wants to build a factory. In session 1, and now also in session 2, she can make 480 shillings in her hand production business. But if she wants to open a factory, she needs 500 extra shillings. She needs 300 shillings for the machine and 200 shillings for startup costs, which adds up to 500 shillings. She probably doesn't have this much extra money, so what she needs to do is take out a loan. She can ask the banker if he is in the game. If not, she should ask an aristocrat if they are willing to lend her some money. Here she has taken out a 500 shilling loan and she puts it in the box under money earned. She then adds up the cloth sales with the loan to get 1,300 shillings in money she's earned. So that's the money she has to spend. She then subtracts the money that she has to spend, which costs more than originally because of the 500 shillings in the machine and startup costs. But even with the higher cost for money spent, she is still making 480 shillings in this session. In the next session, let's say is session 3, she can start operating the factory. She must use a factory make money worksheet. Now she has to fill in many boxes. First, she must indicate how many machines she has. In this case, she only has one. The number of machines changes other features and how much the factory owner makes. Then she has to think about the money she has earned, which is the number of workers, in this case is 8, times the productivity, which is on the market conditions board as 5, times the price of cloth, which is 100, and you multiply that, and she is making 4,000 shillings from her cloth sales. We're assuming she doesn't have any other income. The next thing she has to do is figure out how much money she has to spend on her factory. Again, she has to buy raw cotton, and this is the number of workers times the units of raw cotton, which is on the market conditions board, times the price of raw cotton on the market conditions board, which ends up to be 1,200 shillings. Then she has to pay wages. Let's assume she has 4 men and 4 women. They have to be divided because the wages are different for men, women, children, and immigrants. Again, they're on the market conditions board. So she pays 20 shillings for men, 15 shillings for women. She multiplies those, she adds it up, and she is now spending 140 shillings. There are a few other things that she has to buy. She has warehouse rent, which is 500 shillings on the market conditions board, and operating expenses. With one machine, it's 100 shillings. She also has to pay interest on the loan she took in the previous session. Again, this is on the market conditions board. It's 25 shillings for a 100 shillings loan. She took a 500 shillings loan, so she has to pay 125 shillings for that. So she ends up having to pay an extra 725 shillings. When all of this is added up and subtracted from the money earned, she is still making a really good profit. She is now making 1,935 shillings as opposed to 480 shillings in her hand production business. For a while, merchants and also craftsmen may keep 2 businesses. They can keep a hand production business and a factory production business. What they have to do is add up their income to find out what they're making in total to use that on their lifestyle worksheet. Eventually, they may wish to close the original business. So that's what you need to do to open and operate a factory. But be careful about your business plan. If you do open a factory, bankruptcies were common at this time among textile merchants. But if you are a success, you can make a great deal of money and perhaps live like an aristocrat and move into the upper classes. This will gain you status points for doing that much better. So good luck with the game.